results?
What a night. We were wondering yesterday, what is the Mamdani effect? I think we got our answer.
Yeah, we got it.
I'm Bill Malugin. This is America's Newsroom. It was a total socialist sweep right here in New York last night. All three of the mayor's candidates surging to victory over with their radical platforms. Their wins now being viewed as a big-time political earthquake and more proof that New York's socialist mayor holds sway over the party's future.
How are we feeling tonight?
Solidarity forever. Abolish ICE. Free Palestine. Organize your union. And join DSA.
Solidarity is the force that we need to vanquish Trump's fascism, to abolish ICE, and to stand up to the billionaires.
Even if the establishment machine has done everything in its power to keep our community from having a seat at the table, well, I have some bad news for them. We brought folding chairs.
And correspondent Alexis McAdams is joining us live from New York City this morning with more on this. Alexis, this is sending some serious shockwaves through the Democratic Party today.
That's exactly right. And these Democratic socialists are knocking out Democratic establishment candidates, people, that have been doing this for quite some time. And Bill and Dana, that's why they say they want to take them out. They say they're part of the problem and they need to move the Democratic Party in a new direction. And in this race here in New York City, an endorsement from the mayor meant more than an endorsement from the party's top leaders.
That last June, a year ago tomorrow, was not an anomaly. It was not the end. It was the beginning.
Mamdani went 3 for 3 last night with fellow Democratic Socialists Daria Liza Avila Chevalier, Claire Valdez, and progressive Brad Lander winning. And Brad Lander won fast. We were watching those results come in. They all want to do a few things, all right? Abolish ICE, defund the police, cut ties with Israel, and take the party in a new direction. One of the night's biggest upsets, Chevalier knocking off 5-term Congressman Adriano Espaillat. She's a newcomer, rather. He's not. And she is strongly anti-Israel. I keep thinking back. Did I see her out of Columbia? Because she went to school there and she was also leading those campus protests. Israel also the defining issue in this race. One of the main reasons that Congressman Dan Goldman lost to Brad Lander was because of Israel. They're both Jewish, but boy, do they have different takes.
But it's not just the Jews who will lose. It will be everybody else.
How do you balance that with being anti-AIPAC, anti-Israel, and a lot of things, but you're Jewish?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a proud Jewish New Yorker. I wear it on my sleeve, raising my Jewish kids in this city, like, proudest thing in my life. It's an incredible city for Jews for a century. I'm going to fight to keep it that way.
But a lot of Jewish voters don't feel safe in New York or across the country, so we'll keep an eye on that. The so-called red wave, though, is not just in the Big Apple. Democratic Socialists won nearly every key race across New York State yesterday. And some voters tell me the reason I came to the United States wasn't to deal with this. I came to escape socialist policies. Do you want to bring socialism in?
No.
Why?
No, why? Because I'm from Latin America. We have a Venezuela, we have a Cuba. We know Spanish speaker Latin America. We know what it means socialist. What it means. We don't want this in New York.
And the DSA is calling New York City the Commie Corridor. That's a new one, so I don't know if I should toss it back to you and say live from the Commie Corridor or live from the Big Apple. But one more thing here is we're going to have to see. The question is Zoran Mamdani's playbook going to work in November? That's the big question that I think those Democratic leaders are watching too, Bill.
Yeah.
Good morning and welcome to the new United States of America that used to have two parties in not too distant memory that I think wanted America to continue. Maybe we had different versions of an America when Barack Obama or even Bill Clinton were in office, but at least Democrats by and large would say that 9/11 was bad, right? I think Democrats, by and large, would say, I think the American flag shouldn't be used for refuse and for filth. We shouldn't burn American values. I think we want the continuation of Western civilization and not the destruction of it. That party's dead. That party's dead and gone. It's over. There's nothing left of that party. It's Wednesday, June 24th, 2026, and Hillary Clinton has no power. Nancy Pelosi has no power. Hakeem Jeffries has no power. He's barely hanging on, clinging on to dear life. Chuck Schumer will be lucky to make it out alive without being thrown in a gulag somewhere by his own compatriots in the Democrat Party. And Barack Obama is pledging fealty to the new communist socialist, not even socialist, just call it what it is. They're communists, jihadists, who are an unholy cauldron fusion of third worldism and identity politics created by the AOC, Ilhan Omar, Zorhan Mandami fusion of left-wing retardation and trust fund babies. And they're in charge. And that's it. It's over. The fat lady sang. Rosie O'Donnell sang. It's done. Democrat Party's over. Now you have to ask the question, which side are you on? There is the America First movement, which is us. As much as we are trying to keep it together, as we're trying to fuse and hold and keep the energy going, and to try and not do the easy thing, which is to agitate and blackpill. It is an imperfect vehicle, but it is the best and only vehicle that we have. Most important, only vehicle that we have to win. Or you have the communist, jihadist retards. And that's it. And those are the two parties. And the energy in both parties are kinetic and stored in both of those movements. And the establishment is dead. They don't know they're dead already, but they're dead. They're a mirage. And they're gone. They have no more power. And so now it's up to us. These are the two warring factions. The Democrats did it, of course, to themselves. What you're watching is completely biblical. Remember, the weapon which you form will be used against you. Those who live by the sword will die by the swords. The words of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Democrats formed this weapon. Democrats fused with jihadists because they thought it would be the way to usher in socialism. What they didn't realize is that the jihadists have been around a lot longer than Karl Marx. You're talking about blood feuds that go back to the dawn of man. You're talking about tribal feuds that go back thousands of years. Raids upon Europe and the Far East. You're talking a millennia of grudges. The left-wing PhD Democrats don't know anything about that. They don't know their history. And now they are doomed. Because while Democrats were using jihadists and Islamists in order to usher in socialism, the Islamists were using Democrats in order to usher in Islam, which, of course, definitionally means submission. And that's what's happening here. Islam is a political party. Islam is not a religion. Stop classifying it as one. It's a political ideology. It fuses the church and the state together for full control of a society. And you can find that in all 50 different Muslim countries that span hundreds of millions of square miles across the world. You see exactly what happens when Muslims get 50 plus 1% of a population. It is complete and total Islamic control, an end of free speech, free association, freedom of religion, blind justice. That doesn't exist in the Muslim world. Muslims and non-Muslims are treated entirely differently, with different rules and courts and judges and punishments. Dark traditions that would be unspeakable, but are practiced with normalcy in the Islamic world. Child brides, cousin marriages, concubines, sex slavery of conquered women, treating them less than human. That's all in the Quran. That's all in the Hadiths. We've read them on the show. And so it's time to just say it out loud. Like, what's happening here? Conquest. It's a political conquest. They're using the Democrat Party to do it. And the Democrat Party is no more. It's over. The Democrat Party's done. their institutions and their power finished. Last night in New York, the man who ran the impeachment operation against Donald Trump, Dan Goldman, and the chairman of the Democrat Hispanic Caucus, a man who they were grooming potentially to run for president, lost the seat. Entrenched, incumbent, famous, powerful Democrats lost their seats in landslides. Not close. Not like USAID elections, landslides. 2, 3 Zorhan Mandami, socialist, jihadist, communists. I don't know what the new term, what's the term going to be? What's the term for a jihadist communist? Jihamunist. It's not a laughing matter, but it is time to lock it in and to accept the question, which side are you on? And if you're fighting us, if you're fighting our movement from the inside, you're working for the enemy. So it's time to call people out. Get in the fight or get out. Okay? And don't tell me that Kamala Harris would have been a better president. Don't tell me that what we need is more of this. That this is somehow a good thing happening to America. No, it's not. But if we play our cards right, we can win. And we're going to talk about that today as we work through our show with Senator Bernie Moreno. Very exciting on the program. Greg Steube, congressman from the state of Florida. And we'll be able to chat about this. And of course, the great Tim Burchett will be joining the program. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Some red hot takes this morning. Might burn your face. Won't burn your face. Bond Charge. Bond Charge is a holistic wellness brand with an incredible range of evidence-based sauna blankets and face masks that are so good for you. They're red light face mask. You want to know why we stay so fresh? We're 40 years old, okay? We stay so fresh because we get enough time outside. We get enough time when we have when it's gray here or when the sun goes down after I leave the studio, which is often the case because we never stop working. You get that red light that your body so desperately needs, your skin needs. It feels good. It gives you a feeling of euphoria. It's good for your elastin and collagen production in your skin. It's super lightweight. And it gives you the effect of a sauna. Go to bondcharge.com/Benny and use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. That's BONCHARGE.com/Benny and use the coupon code Benny to save 15%. Okay, here we go. Let's get started here. Where do you even begin? I mean, let's talk about why are the things that are happening? Let's begin. Hey, how many foreign-born people live in New York City? 3.1 million foreign-born people live in New York. 3.1 million, well, that's bigger than the vast majority of cities all across America. That would make simply the foreign-born population of New York like the 9th biggest city in America. Right? So if you were to take all the foreigners and make them just their own city, that would be the 9th biggest city. What's happening there? Because we have a massive country. Why would they subject themselves to this? Because foreign-born people, by and large, don't want to integrate. We don't have a culture that allows for the integration of societies from the third world. Because our culture and our government is Christian, nations that aren't Christian will come here like oil and water. And they're going to either feel oppressed or going to have the illusion that everything is set against them. And so you'll balkanize. This is what you see, of course, in mini Mogadishu up in Minneapolis. The Somali communities have a very specific culture that they come from. It's a culture that has extremely high rates of fraudulence, piracy, inbreeding, child brides, and a complete economy based on immorality, dishonesty, and fraudulence. Go check Somalia to go see how Somalis live. And they come here and they create these exclusionary corridors that are just their culture. They exist as like breakaway no-go zones in America. And if you get enough of them together, then you can effectively create miniature Somalia in America. That was really cute when it was like Little Italy, right? But everybody was Christian. Or when there were some Irish pubs that opened up in Boston, right? Or there were some German delis that opened up in the Midwest. But those were from cultures that had harmonious common ancestry and backgrounds, were effectively rooted in Christendom, Christian belief systems, and patronage. And so what you're doing here in New York is you're bringing in something entirely foreign that doesn't assimilate at all. It brings third world communism here, and it does it in mass, and it sticks together because it's a survival mechanism. And there's a huge treasury to be plundered from this nation, and they're going about plundering it. And so that's what's happening. 3.1 million foreign-born people in New York. You know, half the people of New York don't speak English as a first language. Half. 60% of those don't have proficiency in the English language. It is a post-American city. It is a model for what they wish to do to the rest of the country. It's a model for what they're going to do to the rest of the country if we allow. So this is it. This is the battle. Wow, how could this happen in New York? I'm showing you. New York's no longer an American city. Didn't they just have 9/11? Yeah, they did. And then they had something worse than 9/11. Because it creates the conditions for the people who did 9/11, the cultures that created 9/11, that chant death to America. Now they're putting them in Congress to rule over us. Like 9/11 is the worst terrorist attack in America, on American soil, in your lifetime or mine. But what's worse than that? Well, what's worse than that is taking the people who piloted those planes, the people who chant death to America, and I will prove to you here that one of them is now going to Congress, the people who wanted the burning of American flags, want the destruction of Western civilization, say they do, say death to America, taking those people and putting them to rule over us. And that's what's happening. With one candidate, there's other candidates that are also very, very bad. All 3 out of 3, in fact, 9 out of 9 Democrats across the slate won, but 3 out of 3 congressional Democrats won yesterday in New York, leading to headlines like this. Socialist earthquake leaves Democrats reeling. House Democrats left stunned after 2 of their colleagues, including the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, lost primaries, left-wing challengers. New York primary results poised to double the number of Democrat socialists in Congress, something that is not sitting well with moderates. People who do not support the DSA are wringing their hands at cocktail parties while DSA is organizing. A centrist House Democrat, take a photo of them. They're an endangered species. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, says this is an earthquake and a huge defeat for Democrat leadership. It was a tough night. These are Democrats talking. Dan Goldman. Remember Dan Goldman? He lost by a landslide in New York City to Comptroller Brad Lander. Brad Lander, where do I know that name? Oh, yeah, Brad Lander. The guy, hey, Alex, surely we have the video. Do we? Get me the video of Brad Lander wandering through trying to protect ICE at the courthouse. Do you have that? Brad Lander, he's the dude who was using his body to block, there it is, body to block rapists from being deported from our country. This is the guy Democrats just sent to Congress. There he is, right there. Goofball, balding guy. Oh, this guy's a rapist and a murderer. Brad Lander is sitting there physically fighting ICE to keep the rapist raping. That's what Democrats just sent to Congress. Let's do one more. This is exciting. Just exciting. Okay, here we go. Drialza Alva Chavler. Oh yeah, this is oh man. Oh my gosh, you got to put that one up just one more time. This is great. I just can't believe it's this guy. This is the guy in the famous image. This is the guy in the famous. I don't know. I don't know what the Jeffrey Epstein image here. Right? Like the last known photo of Jeffrey Epstein. This is this guy. Jeez, dude. That's the guy. That's your new Democrat congressman. He's a congressman. He's Democrat congressman. Okay. So get me the ALX. I'm gonna have to. There it is. Okay. Here you go. These ones are great. How can you say that this is worse than 9/11? Well, I mean, it's like look at the ideology here. All right. Look at the ideology. Because they'll clip this and put it up. So here's my argument. Draliza, let's call her Lizzo. Avila Chavler. I don't know how to say the name. She's the founder of CUAD. CUAD, Apartheid Divest. What do they call for? Let's just go ahead and take them at their words. We're fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization. We stand in full solidarity with the global South. Our intifada is an internationalist one. We're fighting for liberation of all people. We seek community and instruction from the militants in the global South. What else do they say against the imperialist world order? Which would, of course, be America. What else do they say? They say death to America. Here it is. This is the organization that she founded. Death to America. Hey, ALX, would you mind translating this? Marg Bar Marka. What does that mean? Okay, can we translate that one? What does it mean exactly? This is also the same candidate that said that she would like to wipe her hands on the American flag. This is your new Democrat candidate. Sorry, Congresswoman, because she's going to go to Congress now after winning in a landslide the election in New York. So yes. Okay, this means, okay, there it is. All right. Pop it up. What does it mean? It means death to America. So the Democrats nominated and then elected a jihadist that chants death to America. She chanted death to America. Among the slate of other candidates was a state senator. Remember, Zorhan Mandami came from the state senate in New York. That's a feeder operation for the DSA. Her name is Aber Quas. She's endorsed by Mandami. And she blamed 9/11 on America and says, we owe Islamists reparations. Here we go.
And so and finding that the system of capitalism and racism and white supremacy, etc., have all, and Islamophobia have all been used, to colonize lands, right, to take resources from other people. And so this is like a long trajectory. And we're just seeing the manifestations of that continuation, right, with 9/11. And so a lot of times when we're...
Listen to what she says. She says we're seeing the manifestation of colonization with 9/11. 9/11 was because of America. America is to blame for 9/11. What about America?
People are asking us to respond about, attack, right? If you look back, historically, right, a lot of us come from lands that were colonized, lands where wars are being waged, right? And a lot of times because of U.S. policy or the policies in Europe. And so I find that we can connect over that, but then also that the idea that we have to apologize for a terror attack that a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery. et cetera, is something that I kind of find like reprehensible.
We owe Muslim jihadists, there are no other kind of jihadists, so it's like redundant. We owe Muslims reparations for September 11th. Do you understand where we are? Do you get it? Do you understand what's happening here? Jewish people don't. Jewish people don't. Sorry. The Jewish Electoral Institute, Melman Group, had a large sample and says that 71% of Jewish people in America voted for Kamala Harris. 26% voted for Trump. Is this going to, are you going to now change your voting habits? You're going to vote for KFC if you're the chicken? You're going to vote for Arby's if you're the cow? I don't know. I'm not Jewish. But somebody's going to have to come on and explain this to me. Like, why would you do this to yourself? These people are jihadists. They're unapologetic jihadists. Islam is a political movement. It is not a religion. And its intent is exactly what it's called, conquest. Islam, translated as submission. Mark Bar America is translated death to America. Down with America. And I hate Telegram Lite, Alex. It's so annoying. There you go. Look at this. There you go. It means death to American in Persian. Although Iran says it could mean down with America. Well, it doesn't matter. Democrats just elected this woman to Congress who posted she wants the end of Western civilization and down with America. Well, this is what the 9/11 hijackers said. And now here's the other Democrat that they elected saying that we need to apologize to Muslims for 9/11. So don't. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. Sorry, just checking in. Our Senator Moreno is ready to go. Don't tell me that this didn't just happen. We'll lay out the evidence. Let's just go very quickly here. Bill Malhusian has a great viral tweet explaining the 3 libtards that just won. There we go. Let's see. Who are they? Chevalier. Abolish prisons, abolish ICE, abolish borders, defund the police. All deportations are wrong, including violent criminals. She's called the U.S. an effing disgrace. She said in a prior social media post, I forgot to get napkins, so I wiped my hand on the American flag behind me. The organization that she founded called for the end of Western civilization and says that she wants the destruction of America. These are taking them at their own words. What do they really believe? Claire Valdez says grant citizenship and voting rights to all illegal aliens, use taxpayer funds for all transgender treatments, eliminate private health insurance. Brad Lander says abolish ICE. He actually physically fought ICE agents in order to protect rapists. Forgive all student loans, $2 trillion worth, and expand all of the Supreme Court. So these are this is the power of the Democrat Party. This is where they're going. They've shown you who they are. Do you believe them? I believe them. So time to shut up. Time to quit the bickering and the infighting. I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. And it's time to get locked in and on board with the only vehicle we have to save America. Otherwise, you will be ruled over by these people. Deuteronomy says, you let the foreigner in, the foreigner will become your leader. You will become their slave. So it's time to really take this stuff seriously. The fight for Western civilization, as always, begins right now. Here is Bernie Moreno, senator from Ohio, fresh off of a massive victory. It's not all doom and gloom. It's just important to lock in and accept like where we are as a country. Bernie Moreno is joining our show live right now, and he's got some. He brings you tidings of great joy from Colombia. Let's go. Senator, how are you? Welcome to the program.
I'm doing great, although a little sad to see the massively anti-American caucus win any elections. Benny, I'm sadly not in my 20s anymore. And I would never have imagined, as somebody who deeply thinks that the greatest thing I got in my life was the ability to come to this country, this great country, learn our culture, learn our language, to see these people who genuinely hate America not only have a platform, but to become the nominees is truly heartbreaking. My mom and dad would roll over in their grave had they seen what's happening to this country. It's very sad.
Yeah, I mean, why don't we begin with this and then we'll move to Colombia, because there are good signs and bad signs, and it's a learning moment. It's a teachable moment, and it's a time for people to wake up, right, and be either join the fight or get out. So, what did you see last night in New York City? I mean, I saw a bunch of privileged white trust fund babies who don't have any real world experience cheering for the wholesale destruction of the Democrat Party and the unelectability of the Democrat Party as we know it. And I think if Republicans seize this moment, then we can make Democrats effectively a permanent minority party, only existing in the radical corridors of the inner city. But we're going to have to do more than what we're doing right now. Your take on last night?
Well, it's first of all an indictment on our education system. These are young people that have been taught basically and conditioned to hate America. They have no idea the true founding, the incredible, historic, and really God-driven moment that created this country 250 years ago. They think this country is fundamentally flawed, fundamentally broken. So that's one piece, our total failure of our educational system. The second component is that I think we have to understand that young people don't feel like they have a shot at the American dream in this country. And as Republicans, we better wake up to that. We better understand what's driving that. And President Trump has talked about this since the moment he came down the escalator. We have to make certain that we have things like secure borders, safety and security, but also that we advocate for working Americans, make sure that working Americans have a path to the American dream, especially young, disaffected men that do not feel that. And those are the people that are gravitating towards the liar in chief, Mandami.
So this is like earthquake, as it has been described by some of your colleagues in the Democrat Party. They're saying that this is terrifying because it proves that the institutions, the DNC, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, I mean, who will really be lucky to escape all of the jaws of what's about to happen in New York. Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, they have no more power. Do you agree with that?
Oh, no, absolutely. I can tell you that firsthand because I talk to my Democratic colleagues all the time. I try to find threads where we may have something in common. And I can tell you they're petrified of the radical left, petrified. They are absolutely frozen in place unless they're absolute advocates for this anti-American extremism. I used to say these are lunatic liberals. It's not true. They're purely un-American, people who hate what America stands for. They want to totally blow up this country. And if we don't wake up to that reality, we're all going to be in deep trouble. Our kids and our grandkids will not have the country that we had, Benny.
So what, I mean, some of these, there's a couple of these candidates, and I did want to ask, because you had to swear an oath to office. Am I correct that your family's from Colombia?
Yeah, I was born there.
You're an immigrant?
I became a naturalized citizen when I was 18. I had to swear allegiance to only one flag, which is the flag of the United States of America. It appalls me when I see elected officials hang the flags of foreign countries or wear pins with foreign flags on them. I refuse to do that. There's only one flag. By the way, Benny, you'd appreciate this. When I took my citizenship oath, there was this strong Marine that literally put his finger right in my face and say, listen, boy, you're going to only have allegiance to one nation, one flag, and it's the United States of America. He made that impression. And by the way, he's right. This is the greatest privilege I got. This isn't a right to be here in America. I remember that every day. I got the opportunity to be invited here. And yet we have this movement that says, oh, no, anybody can come here. In fact, we owe them an obligation to give them access to the United States of America. That is an insane concept. And it diminishes what it means to actually come here legally and swear that oath.
So you swore an oath also when you entered the Senate. When you serve in federal office, you swear an oath also to America, and you have the oath of office.
Yes,
right.
Defend and protect the Constitution from enemies, foreign and domestic, to make certain that I put the interest of the country, the interest of what the Constitution spells out for us to do above all else.
So I wanted to pop up on screen here the new colleague that you will have in Congress, and she's the new New York 13. This would be my screen, Klein. New York 13 representative, and she's going to win. And she says the group that she founded says, "Death to America. We are fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization, and we seek the instruction of militants in the South," meaning jihadists. How can this person knowingly swear an oath to America when they are a jihadist? Like, how is that possible? Like, is there grounds to not seat a member of Congress who has this background?
Yeah, my point of view would be very simple. Every elected official since 1789 in this country, once we ratified our Constitution, has to put their hand on a Bible, lift their right hand, and swear allegiance to the United States of America to uphold our Constitution on a Bible, because that's what our founders said we were. We were a Judeo-Christian country. And my personal perspective is that unless that person is willing to do that, then they are unable to receive that oath of office. And if they do not do that, they don't not do what every other elected official has done in over 240 years, then they should not be seated as a representative of the people of the United States of America.
I mean, I think definitionally that you can't you can't make an argument that you are there to defend and protect America if your actions show that you are founding groups in order to destroy Western civilization, and then post down with America. I mean, you're a jihadist then. I mean, it's what you are. You're calling for a militant overthrow of the of Western civilization. So I think, is anybody going to ask her a question about that? I doubt it, but I think it's worth asking.
Well, it should be part of the swearing in. And again, I would ask all these lunatic professors that have brainwashed our kids to read the creation of the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson wrote a draft. It was massively modified. It was a lot of passages from the Bible that were added there because the idea and the concept was very simple. You can't have a democratic republic. You can't have self-government if you do not have moral people that believe and understand the sacrifices that were made to give that person the ability to have free speech. That didn't come with nothing. That came with decades of sacrifice, of blood, sweat, and tears, literal people who gave their lives in that cause. And the lack of respect for that is both appalling and extremely concerning.
So I'm seeing a lot of people in my timeline center saying that, well, we need to start really considering passing constitutional amendments to say that the whole natural born American citizen thing, it needs to be applied to judges. We saw Sprinkle Sparkle yesterday say that criminal aliens should be allowed to vote in our election. Then the vote of 80 million people don't matter. And then you move and everybody's, everyone's seeing the threat, and the Senate won't move on the SAVE Act.
Well, look, in terms of natural born citizen versus somebody like myself that was naturalized, I think I would look at it more this way, which is you have to have given up your prior citizenship. That's an absolute red line. You're only going to have one passport. You're going to be only a citizen of the United States of America. You agree to assimilate. You agree that you support our culture, values, Declaration, and Constitution. Otherwise, you have no role in representing anybody in the United States of America. In terms of the Save America Act, look, this is very, very, very straightforward. I was just in Colombia because I was asked by the government to be an election observer. There was a lot of potential shenanigans down there. Here's what you got to know about the Colombian election. And it's very, very, very sad and quite frankly embarrassing to the United States of America. What Colombia does is they have one day that's election day. No mail-in balloting at all, like zero. If you are not able to vote on the day of election from 8 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you don't vote. Number two, you have to have proof of citizenship on you, including, by the way, biometrics and a national ID card when you show up. If you don't have that with you, you aren't even allowed to vote. Not only do you sign to receive your ballot, you get fingerprinted to receive that ballot. The ballots are counted by hand, not by machine. 26 million votes were cast. An hour after the polls closed, the election was called. It was just audited, and it had an error rate of 0.003% and has higher voter participation rate than the United States of America. It is so embarrassing, Benny, that I'm on your show telling you that our elections in America are not as good as the elections in a country the size of Colombia. The GDP of Colombia is less than the GDP of Los Angeles County. And yet, 1 hour after the elections, we know who the president of Colombia is. We still don't know who won the election for mayor of LA. It's a disgrace and embarrassment to this country that we can't get a single Democrat to agree that you should have proof of citizenship and voter ID in order to do the most sacred honor you have in this country, which is the right to pick your leaders, the right to vote. The fact that we would even open the door a crack that would be distorted is a total and complete disgrace.
So what does it mean that in Colombia, the nation that is famously known as like the narco state, sort of chokehold on South America, the feeder nation for open borders and so on, you can't get through the Darien Gap or into Panama without Colombia. It is sort of the neck of the entire continent. What does it say that critical state swung to the right? And what do we know about the future president of Tigray?
He's an amazing guy. He told me to send a message to President Trump, which is the answer is yes. Whatever the question is, he's a yes. He is totally aligned with the U.S. He wants to be America's greatest ally. He wants to send a simple message. Narco terrorists are no longer welcome in Colombia. There's not going to be illegal migration flowing through that country or from that country. They want something that is very basic, Benny. They want safety, security, and prosperity. They're done with corruption. They're done with the stereotype. Isn't it amazing that, again, a country like Colombia is repudiating the exact same things that we just saw in New York, where people in America are gravitating towards, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that is
a great point.
That is the incredible paradox here, is that this is happening. Look, we have to fight every day as Republicans and make certain that we shine the light on the Democrats. I actually, I wish you had been with me. I'm sitting with the registrar, the guy who runs the Colombian elections. And again, we're speaking in Spanish because we're in Colombia, right? And I say to him, hey, you don't allow mail-in balloting, and you don't, what happens if you don't have your ID when you come to vote? He turned to his chief and he goes, I think the senator's Spanish isn't so good. I didn't understand his question because he thought those two things were so patently absurd that he had to absolutely have misunderstood what I said. I mean, and he said something prescient. He said, if we did either of those two things, the people of Colombia would not have confidence in our elections. It would open the door to massive fraud. We just won't allow that. Think about that. Think about how crazy that is, that he couldn't even process the idiocy of not having somebody show voter ID when they come to vote.
I mean, it's absolutely crazy. It's not crazy. It is demoralizing. It's a demoralization practice to say that you can't do anything. It's not your country, and we're going to run things, and we're going to run them directly into the ground. I mean, I guess maybe I know you have to go, but like a parting thought on the difference between what happened in Colombia versus what happened in New York last night.
One population is sick of corruption. They're sick of socialism. They want safety, security, and prosperity. And sadly, those are the people of Colombia. The people of New York think that America is broken. And here's the ultimate irony. People of Colombia love America. They would love to be able to come to this country, but there's a long line, and they got to follow that process and now understand that crystal clear. And what happens sometimes, Benny, is if you have too much, you take things for granted. Like you don't understand the gift that we get. God gave us this incredible country, and we should honor it and respect it every single day.
Chuck Schumer's going to have a tough one, man. Chuck Schumer's toast. Yes, I mean, that guy watched the result. I'm like, that's it for Chuck Schumer. Like, you can't keep Dan Goldman, and you can't keep the head of the Hispanic caucus. You're finished. Establishment Democrats are done. Dude.
Totally done. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally
done. That's a disaster. Because if we get more and more of these fanatical anti-American people here in Congress, it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good. But again, permanent minority status. We'll see. Thank you very much, Bernie. I really appreciate this, and and also like well in on the fight. It's awesome to see what's happening in South America. I would love to have the Don Road Doctrine and have a right-wing South America. I think you're like halfway there or more. Brazil's next, baby.
We're almost done. Brazil and then Mexico. We got to get Mexico, our biggest trading partner, 2,000 miles of border. We got to get that fixed.
Well, there's always you can always go back to the Mexican-American War, and as I say, Marines in Mexico City. There you go, the old Andrew Johnson, Andrew Jackson way. Thank you very much, Senator. God bless you, and everybody follow Senator Moreno. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers here, keeping the fight. See you, Senator.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you should get out of New York while you can. You should get out of New York. You should get out of things that are collapsing and in places that can't run a book, right? Because what's going to happen now is there's going to be just an absolute spiral in the state of New York. It's already happening. Don't let it happen in your own household. Don't let high debt and crippling costs take over your life. Call my friends at American Financing to get out of debt right now. Reconsolidate your debt. Get out of these usury rates. They're immoral. They're wrong. 20 and 30%. I think they should be illegal. It's one of those rare things that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump agree on. Anyway, we'll see what happens next, but I can tell you this. American Financing can help you reconsolidate that debt right now. Call American Financing today, 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, americanfinancing.net/Benny. Okay, so that's the view from Columbia and the Senate. How about we jump on over to the House to a dear friend of our program from the state of Florida, representing the opposite, in fact, of New York City. His name's Greg Steube, and he's a congressman that doesn't trifle with this kind of stuff, but he's going to have to work alongside these dirty Marxists, so I'm interested to hear what he has to say. Let's go. Congressman, good morning. And it looks like you're going to have a couple more Marxists to contend with. In fact, the Democrat Socialists of America just doubled their number in Congress. That's exciting for you.
It's pretty fascinating that this is the direction that New York is heading. Thankfully, it's not the direction our country is heading. But yeah, it's so a quick fun story. So I try to work out every morning in the members' gym. Well, it's Republican and Democrat, and there was a Democrat in there. It was just me and him. And we were talking about the congressional baseball game, and then he made some comment about socialists taking over his party. And so even rank and file Democrats that are elected members of Congress see how bad this is for them and for the country, that in their party, socialists, and he said it, not me, a Democrat, I won't name who it was, but a Democrat said that socialists are taking over their party. So it's great for us in general elections in districts that we can win. If they're nominating these crazy left, progressive, Marxist, socialist, communists, we're going to win the general elections. But in district like this in New York, that's a D district. These people are going to be in Washington espousing Marxism and socialism and communism right here in Washington, D.C. So it's very scary that we're at this point in America where you have people saying things like, this is Brad Linder, who just won. I first called for abolishing ICE in 2018. Forgive all student loans, huge tax hikes on the wealthy. Claire Valdez said, fight to abolish ICE. These people are all anti-law enforcement. They want to defund the police. They want to defund ICE. They want complete government takeover on housing and everything else. And this is the kind of stuff you saw in the old Venezuela, stuff that's been going on in Cuba for decades. This doesn't happen in America, but it's happening in places like New York City because Democrats are electing these people.
So I have a pressing question about the oath of office. And it's an oath of office that you've taken now multiple times, and you promised to protect America. And one of the Democrats that won last night, Chavalier is her last name. I don't know exactly how to say it, but she's going to represent New York's 13th congressional district. And she posted from the group that she started, Death to America. The group that she started, which is the Columbia University Apartheid Divest organization called the CUAD, says that her goal is to fight for the total eradication of Western civilization and to use militant forces to do it. How can this person be sworn into Congress?
Well, if they refuse to swear an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States, which we are required to do as members of Congress, they should not be seated in the 200 and what will be 19th, I think, 119th Congress, the next Congress when we swear in. So when we have the elections in November, we don't swear in until January. Every member of Congress has to swear an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution of the United States. If she is refusing to do that, then she should not be seated. And if we have to pass rules, I think we should pass a rule. This program has given me the idea to file an amendment to the rules that if you refuse to swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States, you shall not be seated as a member of that Congress. So if you can't do that, you shouldn't be seated as a member of Congress, and we should change the rules of the House to reflect that. And every year, every Congress, every 2 years, we sign a new rules package. It has to be voted by the membership. It's obviously usually partisan, so whoever has the majority files a partisan package. We should change the rules to explicitly state that if you cannot swear an oath to the Constitution that's required by law, that you will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, which is a requirement of a member of Congress, you shall not be seated as a member of that Congress. So we need to make that change before people like that get here. And if she's going to refuse to uphold that, then we don't seat her in as a member of this Congress.
It seems suicidal. I think
crazy.
More functional countries wouldn't allow it. You wouldn't allow open usurpation and militants to gain power over you that call for the death of your nation. I mean, just like, this is disqualifying, right? She also says she wants to use the American flag as toilet paper. She posted that. And now she's going to be serving under that American flag in Congress. You're going to have to walk the halls with her. It's in. What kind of a country allows this? I mean,
I don't know. We're not going in the direction we need to go. But to your points about the voting too, like what country allows people without an ID to vote in our elections? It's insane that we can't pass the SAVE Act in a Republican House, Senate, and a White House.
Goodness.
And thankfully, I've been working with the president on this since like October of last year, saying you've got to tell Thune to nuke the filibuster to get this thing done. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. You can't put it in a reconciliation bill because the parliamentarian in the Senate that was appointed by Harry Reid, by the way, that Thune won't get rid of, won't allow it to be in a reconciliation package. The only way you get it done is to pass it with a Republican vote, which requires you to nuke the filibuster. Just do it to save our freaking country. And finally, the president's putting some pressure on that. You saw today that he's canceling a press conference on this housing bill that passed. Hopefully, he just stops everything in Washington until the Senate passes this. We have passed it twice in the House. It's sitting and languishing in the Senate like other all good conservative policy, because over there you got to get Chuck Schumer and 60 Republican or 60 members to pass a bill, which means you need 7 Democrats. It's nuts. The American people elected a Republican House, Senate, and White House, and they scratched their heads as to why a Republican Senate cannot pass a very simple piece of legislation that simply states that you have to be a citizen of our country to vote, and you have to show ID of the same. I mean, it's not a foreign concept like what Senator Marino was saying. Like Colombia does it, and they're flabbergasted that we would allow this to happen, which is why there's so much corruption in a voting process in America.
Yeah, but I think, Congressman, you misunderstand. We live not in the United States of America. We live under the dictatorship of Judge Sparkle. And Judge Sparkle is here to tell us what an American is. And an American is every single of the 9 billion people on Earth, most of them from the third world, that comes to America. They are immediately American. Magically, they become an American.
Well, thankfully, that garbage will be appealed, and we'll win on appeal on that kind of stuff. But I'm
crazy.
I asked my staff to file.
Crazy that we're here.
We filed one impeachment resolution on one of these judges that just completely are not upholding the Constitution. They should be removed from office. We're looking to file another one on her. It'll never pass, but I think it'll show the American people that there are people like myself who are serious about holding our judges to uphold the oath that they took as a judge to uphold our Constitution.
Yeah, you could defund the court. You could defund the circuit court in D.C., which is just one of the nastiest left-wing institutions, probably the worst left-wing institution in the country. There are a lot of remedies. You could impeach the judges. What should happen here? I mean, if you ran the zoo, like what would be happening with these judges?
Well, I think they should be removed from office because they're not upholding the oath of the Constitution and the requirements of the Constitution. The people that should be doing that is the judicial branch. So if you have judges who are refusing to uphold the Constitution and the laws of the United States, Congress has not passed laws that allow that type of action to happen. And so they're using their position as a judge to create law and overthrowing our Constitution, our rules and statutes that Congress has passed. They should be removed from office. And if you were able to get one of them out, which again, you can maybe get it passed in the House because it's a majority. But in order for them to be removed in the Senate, I think it takes 2/3. That's obviously never going to happen.
Really?
Because you're not going to have 60 votes over there. But at least it sends a very strong signal that we're not going to put up with this.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to just like start to check the judiciary's power a little bit. It's what Bukele says. If you cannot impeach the judges, then they'll rule in tyranny over you. And they'll support, of course, the corrupt systems that appoint them. Judge Sparkle just arrived here, I think like yesterday, I think like last week. And, you know, Biden appoints her. She keeps her dual citizenship, which is insane.
That's crazy.
And so it's literally a foreigner ruling over us and overturning the will of 80 million Americans. It's wrong. Do you think there should be something that applies, perhaps, like the natural born Americans? Because this is what I find crazy. I mean, you could square this. You're smarter than me. We have this rule that says the guy who's in charge of our country has to be a natural born American citizen, so he has no allegiance to anything other than America. And everybody agrees that that's a really good thing. And at least it just doesn't get challenged, right? It's never been challenged. But that doesn't apply to Congress. It doesn't apply to judges. Why?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great question. Maybe it should. But going through that process, I think in order to make the change to the Constitution, you need 2/3 in the House, you need 2/3 in the Senate, which it's not going to happen right now. I certainly support it. And I certainly don't think that a member of Congress or a judge or anybody that holds any type of federal position should have dual citizenship. If you immigrated here and you want to become a citizen of the United States, great. Well, you need to relinquish the citizenship of that other country, or you can't hold office in the United States. No other country in the world would allow that to happen. If you became a citizen of Brazil or whatever other country, I can guarantee you they're not going to let you hold federal office in a foreign nation while still holding your citizenship in the United States. So it's just amazing the things that happen that don't happen all across the world that people here, the liberals and the progressives and the communists and the socialists all think should be happening here, when places like Colombia has voter ID and they know the outcome of the vote that night, and they're still counting votes in California today because they allow for 2 weeks of votes to be counted. It's absolutely insane that we're dealing with that in the country that should be the beacon of freedom in the world.
So you said something that was optimistic, and I love it when people hit an optimistic note because it's so easy to just complain. And you said that, you know, if the Democrats keep going this way, according to your Democrat colleague in the gym this morning, that they're toast, that there's no institutional structure any longer. The DNC is broke. The Clintons and Pelosi's are completely without power. Schumer has no power. Hakeem Jeffries is hanging by a thread. And that you could, I mean, if Republicans play our cards right, we could actually push these people over the cliff, right?
Well,
like you could make them like a permanent minority party in one generation.
And you're seeing it happen all across the country. So look at Talrico in the Senate in Texas. I mean, that guy's nuts. There's no way he wins a general election in Texas. There's no way. There's no way when all the things get out about the things that he said that he wins. If you look at House races in, say, Iowa, in those tough House races like in Miller Meek's seat and Zach Noon's seat, the people that the Democrats nominated in their primaries are the far leftist progressives. So now you have these crazy leftist progressives in a swing district in America. Iowans are not going to vote for some crazy leftist progressive socialist in Iowa. So that helps us in a seat like Mary Miller's seat in Iowa and this other district in Iowa, all across the country. So in these tough districts where you're seeing the Democrats nominate these crazy far left candidates like you saw last night, like you've seen in Iowa and Texas, that helps us greatly in the general election. We'll be able to hold those two seats, I think, primarily because of the fact that the Democrats nominated such far left people that we'll be able to keep those two seats. And those are two tough swing seats for us to keep in a midterm. So it's very good for us from a midterm congressional perspective. When you drill down on individual congressional districts, if you have a good, solid Republican member that is representing these districts and the Democrats nominate these crazy leftists, there's no way that crazy leftist is going to win a seat in Iowa or win a U.S. Senate seat in Texas. So we're able to hold those seats and then pick up other seats that redistricting has helped us with across the nation. I'm upset that there's more states that haven't done it before this midterm, like Georgia and South Carolina. But I believe at this point we've netted about 11. We just need to hold the majority, which is tough for us in a midterm. But I think between redistricting and the Democrats nominating these crazy leftist progressives in these tough swing districts, we'll be successful in holding the House.
Yeah, and I think that stars are aligning. I mean, Hakeem Jeffries is just weak. He's a weak man. That dude I'm like, I can't believe it. He facetunes. He edits his photos more than a Kardashian.
Well, and he lost 3 races last night. I mean, he's New York. So he's the minority leader of the Democrats in the House, and he endorsed people who didn't win last night. So do you think that those 3 members, that when they get elected in November, because those are Democrat seats, do you think that they're going to vote for Hakeem Jeffries for minority leader? Do you think that they're going to be good members for them, for him? So it shows you that he doesn't have control over his group of Democrats in the House. Schumer doesn't have control of the party, and they've swung so far left that even Hakeem Jeffries isn't liberal enough for these crazy progressives and Marxists that are winning in New York.
Would you mind just really quickly establishing, like, how did Florida rid itself of this sort of metastasized Marxism? Because just a few short years ago, and I know you're very close with the governor here, a few short years ago, like, we were this close to becoming some type of weird Virginia style, like hybrid, New York style hybrid with the governor's race. And then in a very short time, this has become a Republican supermajority state, ruby red. How did that happen? What should be the model here?
Well, there was a lot of factors, but a lot of it was COVID. And I had served in the state legislature, so we had passed lots of tax cuts. We don't have an income tax in the state of Florida. We have a great business environment in the state of Florida. And it's Florida. People obviously love to live there. So people were already moving there in mass. It was like 1,000 people a day were moving to the state. Well, then when COVID hit and we had our kids in schools and they didn't have to wear masks and we had our businesses open and we had all of these things that were going on, all of these people that are conservative or middle of the road that were living in Democrat-run cities and states were like, I want my child to actually be in a school and not doing Zoom for a year. So they moved their family to Florida. They moved their businesses to Florida because of the business climate, because of the freedom that we have in Florida. You have a supermajority in the House, a supermajority in the Senate. You have all Republican cabinet members that obviously run our state in a conservative fashion, and freedom is infectious. And so now you're seeing 1,100, 1,200, 1,300 people a day move into the great state of Florida because they're sick and tired of the policies in the states that they live in. And if you look at, drill down on individual county voter registration, I'll take Sarasota County that I represent, for example. Look at the county by county, month by month registration numbers. It's like 2/3 Republican to 1/3 Democrat, which tells you that the people that are moving into the great state of Florida are moving and registering as Republicans, not Democrats, because they're fleeing bad policies and they're fleeing woke, leftist, liberal states for freedom and for no income taxes and the ability to raise their family in a conservative fashion and in a conservative state that supports freedom, business, and democracy. And that's what you're seeing is the American people's ability to be able to move around and go to a place like that.
Congressman, it's always an honor to have you, and it's always refreshing for the audience because, again, it's so easy to just like bang your fist on the table and say it's all doomed. No, it's not actually. If we can survive these next few years, the 2030 census is going to do the job for us.
Yes.
It's going to make it untenable. I mean, I don't know if in closing here, I know you have to go, but like, I think the 2030 census, if we are able to survive the gauntlet, the crucible of like this midterm election and the 2028 election, by the time we reach the census, it's going to look like a Republican supermajority in the House of Representatives and probably the Senate by the time they're done with it.
Well, and it will because under the Biden administration, the last census, they cheated. And that we know this for a fact because they came back later and blamed COVID. Oh, we didn't have the numbers. It was, COVID, blah, 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 blah. But Florida should have picked up 2 seats, not 1. Texas should have picked up 3 seats, not 2. If you just look at the voter numbers in these different congressional districts, even last night in New York, it was like 30,000 people voted for these people. You look at primaries in Florida, it's like 130,000 people vote in the primaries. It's because there's not as many people there because they were counting illegal immigrants. So the moment when we do the census under a Republican administration that's not going to allow for counting of illegal immigrants who are in our country and only citizens, you're going to see scores of members in districts coming out of California, New York, and Democrat-run states because they're counting illegals and flowing to Texas and Florida and other states where the people actually are living. And you're going to see the House swing significantly. And with this redistricting order that came from the U.S. Supreme Court, when Georgia redistricts, when South Carolina redistricts, and we're not forced to gerrymander for minority-majority districts, you're going to see us be able to hold the House. Things will flow the way it should flow because we're actually counting the citizens of our country and not illegal immigrants that are here.
This is why we love having the congressman on. He always brings like reality, the realistic perspective, but then also like what the future could hold. And so, ladies and gentlemen, everybody follow Greg Steube, great congressman from the state of Florida. He's got hundreds of thousands of followers here, and he's holding it down here in the ruby red state of Florida. Godspeed, Congressman. Thank you.
Yeah, good to see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be joined by the great Tim Burchett, checking in with my production team here. I think we're a few minutes early for Tim Burchett. Just checking in. We're still on time? Yeah, great. Okay, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who we're going to call. We're going to call on, okay. All right, it's not in yet. That's fine. I'm excited to talk to Tim. He's our dear friend. We're going to call Patriot Mobile. We're going to call Tim Burchett. He's been on a bit of a tear here lately, and I'm looking forward to hearing his perspective on what happened in the House last night. Patriot Mobile can ensure that you stay connected and that you stay locked in with your cell phone provider, that you are speaking clearly and freely in the freest country on earth, and that you are supporting Christian conservative companies when you do so. It is critical. There is no freedom of speech in Islam or in Islamic caliphate nations. It is important to protect this ultimate right, freedom of thought. Freedom of speech is freedom of thought and freedom of association. Patriot Mobile does this. Patriot Mobile has wireless hotspots that are critical when you're traveling and on the road, and the best cell phone coverage in America. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Switch your home office. It takes just a few minutes. Call Patriot Mobile today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT for promo code Benny for a free month of service. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have, let's see, where do we want to go here? I mean, I could just continue to rage about what the results look like. I mean, I love this you're next chant. It's freaking crazy. This is what libtards chanted at Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth. Nope. At JD Vance. Nope. They're chanting this at Hakeem Jeffries. Dude. Libs screaming, you're next. You're next. Oh my. To the first black minority leader in the history of the House. A bunch of privileged, rich white libs chanting at the black guy who's in charge of the Democrat Party. You're next. Okay. What an exciting time to be alive, to watch it all happen. Our favorite pollster is somebody who worked for CNN, and it's insane to say that. Actually, John McLaughlin's our favorite pollster, and he comes on the program all the time. But our favorite on-TV personality pollster is this dude who just sort of spits it like it is. And sometimes you might like the numbers, and sometimes you might not. But this guy just reads the data, and he's a real character on CNN. His name's Harry Enton, and he had a ballistic takedown last night on what's happening to the Democrat Party. Here we go.
Well, among Democrats themselves, the Democratic Socialists of America have a higher net favor rating than the Democratic Party does, at least those who are members of Congress. I mean, just take a look here. Dem Socialists of America, plus 17 points. Democrats in Congress, plus 4 points. No wonder that Dem socialists are getting nominated across the political map in different primaries because, simply put, they're more popular than the Democrats currently in charge.
Okay, I'm just thinking back to when I was sitting here and Zoran Mamdani was sitting there when he was running, and I asked him about capitalism.
Yes.
And he had no problem saying that he had real issues with it. Okay, he wasn't afraid to say it. By the way, he ended up winning. It didn't hurt him. How do Democrats today view socialism compared to capitalism?
There's a reason why it didn't hurt him, and that is simply because this is one of the biggest political changes I've seen during my lifetime. Match up socialism, capitalism among Democrats. You go back 16 years ago, 2010, capitalism and socialism right there, favorable rating, 51%, 50%. Look at it now. Socialism clearly in the lead among Democrats. 66% of them view socialism favorably, just 42% view capitalism favorably. No wonder Mamdani had no problem blasting it.
Which is fascinating because when you look at races coming up in New York, you've got a big one up in the Bronx. And you've got Zoran Mamdani endorsing a Democratic Socialist. Hakeem Jeffries not going with the more traditional incumbent. So there are two big races involving Democratic Socialists coming up in New York that Mamdani's endorsed. Tell us something we don't know.
I'll tell you something you don't know, and that is that the Democratic Socialists are likely to win one of those races, the one down in Brooklyn, going to beat the Brooklyn Borough president. You take a look there, look at that, an 81% chance to win in Brooklyn. And in Northern Manhattan, at this point, a 52% to knock off an incumbent, Espelot. Unbelievable.
Yes, Espelot, long-time incumbent with all of the incumbents endorsing him.
They're communists, dude. They're communists. Don't let them tell you that the Democrat Socialists of America, the Rose and the Uniting and the Workers. No, dude, it's communism. It's jihadist communism. It's a special brand of communism, but it's jihadist communism nonetheless. Stephen Miller going full scorched earth last night on Fox News on these results. Obviously, if there's anybody who's been more vindicated, no one's been more vindicated than Stephen Miller on these results. Here we go.
That's the communication challenge that we all have together, Sean, which is to explain to the American people that Democrats you grew up with, the Democrats that your mom and dad grew up with, the Democrats that your grandma and grandpa grew up with, do not exist anymore at all, not at any level of government. A vote for any Democrat anywhere for any office is empowering a party that wants to strip this country to the bone, to take away our security, our defense, our way of life. You know, just tonight, Sean, I saw a Democrat member of Congress online defending the Antifa terrorists in Texas who were just jailed for shooting an ICE officer. They shot an ICE officer. They were charged with terrorism, and a Democrat congresswoman was defending the Antifa terrorists.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the godfather of Stephen Miller, the great Tim Burchett, joins our program live right now. Here we go. I don't actually know if you're Stephen Miller's godfather, but the two of you share the capacity, Congressman, for blunt truth about the state of America. And it seems like you're going to be having some really exciting conversations in the halls of Congress with your new Marxist friends from New York. That, among other things, chant death to America, say they want the downfall of Western civilization, and celebrate the September 11th attacks. It's going to be a very interesting time in the cafeteria.
And wipe their hands on the American flag. I mean, you know, that doesn't play very well in Tennessee, I can tell
What would
you.
happen if they wiped their hands on the American flag outside of your office, Congressman?
I'd say, dadgummit, somebody's going to take an ass whipping. They would. And I would not put up with it. That's not, I think about my daddy. I think about my 48 star flag in my office that was on my uncle's casket, died fighting the Nazis. And my dad fought and killed people to defend this country. And in the Marine Corps, and my mama flew a dadgum airplane during the Second World War. So I can't even fathom that line of thinking. I can remember when I was a little boy, and my mom and daddy were, of course, still living, and we were at a UT football game, and some kid was talking in front of my dad. Dad was Dean of Student Conduct. I'm pretty sure my dad never read the Bill of Rights, because he told that kid to take that hat off his head or he's going to take it off for him. And he gave Dad some lip. And he said, "What's your name?" And Dad wrote it down. The kid was in my dad's office Monday morning, and I can remember my mama tearing up when they unfurled that flag every time. And I knew she's thinking about her brother Roy. That's what it means to me, brother. That's what it means to me. I can't, and I'm worried if I can pontificate a little bit.
Please.
I remembered I was in a meeting one time with a bunch of Republicans, and they were saying, and we were freshmen. They said, "I know you guys think y'all are my favorite freshmen, each of and every, but my favorite freshman is Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez." And they said, because she is selling, she's out here doing this stuff. Well, the problem is, Benny, is that what they're selling, young people are buying on some of our college campuses, being taught that. And I said to myself, that is not what I would want public right there, because they get it and we don't, and we are terrible at messaging. If it wasn't for people like yourself, I dare say it would be some very dark days in our republic right now, because we are terrible at getting the word out, and we're too protectionism on our own seats, and we're afraid to get out on the edge a little bit, which we need to do. And I think New York is an indicator. It's a wake-up call. We have allowed this, and dadgummit, we've created it more or less, because we did not. We always, and I'm sorry, I'm really ticked off this morning. We always want to compromise. We've got bills up and we compromise with the Democrats. Dadgummit, we're in the majority. President Trump won overwhelmingly across this great country because he spoke the truth. Lock the dadgum borders down, lock up our criminals, make our enemies fear us, and our friends respect us again. Simple things that America grasps, but yet all we're doing, we win with our 2 or 3 percentage points and we come back here again and celebrate. Let's take that majority out for a ride and see what it can do. Let's start passing real bills that America wants. I'm chairman of the dadgum Doge committee, and it's hard to even get Republicans to come to the meeting. I mean, we hardly even have a quorum. And we're going to have a meeting this Thursday, on food stamps and all the fraud that's gone on in there. This is what America voted for. It may be a little uncomfortable for you, but the message is, let's cut the fraud out so we can take care of the people. That's the message. Should be, but it's not going to be. It's going to be, oh, look at all the harm we're causing and all this wringing of hands. And you and I know dadgum well the fraud that's going on in that program. And President Trump's right, and Elon Musk was right. It's over $1 trillion that they're stealing from us. And, stealing from your beautiful children, stealing from my daughter, and if I ever have grandkids, stealing from them, because we're $40 trillion in debt, and we just can't keep going down this path. And we keep playing ball with them. And they never play ball with us. When they're in the majority, they don't care. They don't give a rip. All they want to do is pass their hardline legislation. Dadgummit, that's what they do. We need to take a page from their playbook.
That would require a different Republican Party that isn't scared of its own shadow that could actually pass the SAVE Act. That would require Republicans that are willing to fight and go to war legislatively.
The SAVE Act. I mean, why aren't we out every day saying, look, you got to show your dadgum birth certificate to play Little League Baseball in America. I made the mistake of saying that I was speaking, I think, to a group of Mormons, and I said something about, hey, going down to the Weigels. That's our little local 5 and dime. Bill Weigel, great American, started that and still has it. And, I said, you're going to go down there and buy a scratch off, a 6-pack of beer and a pack of smokes. Then I realized I was speaking to a group of Mormons, and I said, and all those things are bad. And they all laughed. They're my buddies. They vote right. But look, we've got to start taking this thing serious, Benny. We've got to light up our senators on the phones, on the emails. Speak with authority. We are going to lose our country, and they'll do it at the ballot box.
It's amazing that you can have the results like you had last night. You have people that chant death to America. You have individuals that say that America owes Islamists reparations for 9/11. We have the clip. I mean, here's my screen, Klein, please. We have the clip of this woman. Her name's Aber Quas. And she says that America, that we owe Islam reparations for what happened on September 11th.
For like a terror attack that like a couple of people did, and then there is no apologies or reparations for genocides and for slavery, etc., is something that I kind of find like reprehensible.
It's like, I mean, is this not a wake-up call for Republicans to understand what time? Like, what time is it right now? The hour is late, Congressman.
The hour is very late, and we are in a horrible situation. And if we don't address this thing, and the Democrats, you know, everybody's saying, "Oh, the Democrats, they're gonna have a mutiny on their hands and all this stuff." I don't think they will. I think they're going to embrace it and move farther to the left and try to scam us that way. I really do. I just don't. I don't see us. I just look. You know, you got Democrats. You had one Democrat down in Texas saying that Jews ought to be rounded up. I believe it was. I remember Jared Moskowitz.
Put into camps. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, put into camps. Jared Moskowitz said, "My kids aren't going to camps." He's a Democrat and he's Jewish. He's from Florida, but you know,
Jewish people voted 70-20 for Kamala Harris, so they're voting for this. It's the chicken. You know,
they just get right in line.
Voting for the fox in the hen house. Yeah.
And now they're nipping at Trump on Iran. Where were they when we started bombing? They should have been saying, "Hell yes, this is what we need to be doing." And you know, the thing about it is, what's the price you're going to put on peace? Everybody says it wants to back off from Iran, but I'm stepping into it. Look, Trump briefed us on that thing. It was American excellence that we stopped this nuclear situation. They had the capabilities, they had the facility, they had it in the ground. And Trump literally, with that one bomb, they buried it under a mountain. And that's how, you know, that's where it's at right there. If we see movement on that mountain, I think the bombing starts. But, you know, all this money they're talking about, I rarely ever see a Democrat complain about all the fraud that's going on that could fund everything we've got going on right now.
Do you think that these members of Congress should be seated? Do you think that they can take an oath to protect and defend America if they're saying death to America and that they want to use the American flag as toilet paper?
I do not, Benny. And I think that needs to be made and take that. But of course, you're going to have a few Republicans that'll back out on that, and all the Democrats, they'll all stick together because they're afraid of that far left base that they've got that's encroaching their party. Yeah, I talk to them all the time in the gym and they're just shaking their heads. But again, you and I've talked about this before. They use the carrot and the stick very well. They reward them with the carrot or they bang them over the head with the stick. And, you know, Hakeem Jeffries, they're saying he's in trouble. He's in trouble. Well, you know what? He's going to move to the left, just like Pelosi did, just like everybody else did. Just now the movement is going to be it won't be some little gradual inching. It will be leaps and bounds. And you will see the Democratic Party will embrace the Marxist philosophy. I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I see it every day. I see it every dadgum day. I see it on our campuses. I see it out in our communities, and just the far left embracing of this. And it, you know, a lot of it starts with the, you know, they're on Elon. He's a billionaire. Well, he's made, how many millionaires has he made? I mean, welders, you know, guys, electricians, people like that. He's made millionaires literally because of their investment in his company. And he shared that with them. And yet that's what they want to take. And it sounds good to somebody who's standing in line at the gas pumps and is struggling to feed their family, that, you know, they're gonna take everything this guy's got. But the reality is, it's, what is it, $1,500 per American citizen or something, that if they took all his money, you know, it's like reparations. It sounds good to a very small community and it riles them up, but the reality is it's not going to amount to anything.
I know you have very tough criticisms for Republican leadership, but if we could set those aside for a moment and just look at the situation that Hakeem Jeffries is in, I mean, it's untenable. You now have a dozen members who are in that Hakeem Jeffries ran against and spent money against. Hakeem Jeffries campaigned against every single Democrat that won last night in New York. This is not going to be fun for Hakeem Jeffries. And what does it say about the state of the Democrat Party? I mean, again, like, this is not the party that Pelosi or the Clintons want, or the Bidens, that they want to bring to the American people. They know, I think they're pragmatic enough and bloodthirsty enough and cutthroat enough to know you can't win nationally, right, on what you can do in the boroughs of New York City. But they seem helpless to stop it. So does that mean they're powerless, Congressman?
Yeah. They're powerless to the point of they're going to just yield to the masses, and they're not going to be leaders. They just want to stay in power. And I think that's the key to Congress right now. In both parties, a lot of times, is that they just want to stay in power. I see a lot of talk. We got to pass this. We got to pass that. Some bill that's going to, that has a lot of pork in it. And then they say, we got to pass that because once we got to get this to this next level to where we can stop it all. And it never stops, Benny. It never stops. It just seems that the Democrat leadership sees that. And I think the thing that they're looking at is, I want to keep the suburban. I want to keep the security detail. I want to go to the front of the line. And they're going to keep voting that way. And they will run this country into the ground. They will run it into the ground further than it could ever dig out of. And
so
you look at these judges we've got right now. That's a huge problem, dude.
Sprinkle Sparkle.
Yeah, Sprinkle.
You don't live in America anymore. You live under the dictatorship of Sparkle.
Yeah. I was just like, man, I read that name. I thought that's something Trump put on her, and it's a fake name. He always does that stuff. I'm glad he's never popped me with one of those. I got enough bad nicknames out there. But no, these folks aren't American. They're not born in America, and they brought up to hate this country.
Yeah. And
they're going to get even with it. It always reminds me, remember the trench coat mafia of some group kids that shot up some school somewhere. And they said, well, who are these kids? And they weren't in the band. They didn't play football. They weren't, they weren't on the annual staff. They weren't in the Key Club. They weren't in the Garden Club. They were just a bunch of loners, and they're just getting even with the country. And that's kind of how the media is. I think a lot of times the people in the press, I've met some up here that are fairly normal people, and then you look at some of these oddball judges. I mean, what dadgum five and dime store law school do these knuckleheads ever graduate from? And they're not even from here, and they don't have our values, and they hate this country. And we better wake up, because that is exactly what's going on with it. That is exactly what those folks are doing. And then again, I get back to President Trump. He's out here struggling. He's up on the Hill today trying to get the Save America Act. And how can that even be an issue, Benny? How can that even be an issue unless you hate this country, you hate President Trump, you hate what he stands for, and you want to tear it all down? And that's, and the problem we've got with senators, part of the reason they have a 6-year hitch is because people will forget what they've done, and they'll ride off into the sunset, and then they'll bring the red meat. You and I've talked about this before. On election year, 6 weeks out, they'll pass the I Bleed Red, White, and Blue Act or something, and everybody will be patting them on the back, and they'll be the heroes of something, and then they get reelected. We got to start researching this stuff. We got to get on this computer and find out what's in these bills that we keep passing, and hold our people accountable. The day after we pass a bill, it's too late. We need to do it 2 days before, so that they won't pass this nonsense that we keep feeding the American public.
Yeah, and there's like 3 senators that are holding a eternal grudge against a tribal feud against President Trump, and just refuse to pass the SAVE Act because of that. I mean,
and they'll be remembered for that. And they'll be remembered for that. But
we've heard it from inside the caucus. We've had the senators on the show. They said no. They say we won't do it just because we hate Trump. We hate Trump, so we're not going to do it. Right? McConnell, Murkowski, Tillis, they won't do it because they hate Trump.
I can't imagine having that much vengeance in my heart. I really can't. I don't hate anybody up here, And honestly, the only people that really dislike me completely are a couple of Republicans. There's a couple of bullies that always in the gym try to tell me, you need to stay off the internet, Burchett. I'm having to answer your questions. I told one this morning who was getting on me. I said, well, the truth is the truth is hard to run from, brother.
Yeah. Too bad. You should delete all those photos of you in Swalwell.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe like the last question here, Congressman. What do we do to make sure that Democrats have a permanent minority status? Because this, of course, can't win. They're high on their own supply right now, but this can't win.
No.
Electorally nationwide. But Republicans, I've never doubt their ability to screw up a good thing, and it's happened my entire life. And to waste and squander the will of the American people.
Well, I had a Sunday school teacher tell us this story one time, and it kind of fits here. There's a kid that was lost out on the plains, and they all went a million different directions trying to find this kid, and they never did. And they said, well, here's what we're going to do. We all held hands, and they walked across this area. The whole town did. And guess what? They found the kid. But the problem was the kid was already dead. But the gist of that story should have been they should have gotten together sooner instead of going 100 different directions. Mm-hmm. They held hands and figured out. Now, the Republican Party, I don't want to hold hands with these knuckleheads. I think it's a little weird. I see dudes holding hands. I'm not really into that. But praying at my house, I hold my wife's hands, my daughter's boyfriend. I was like, nope. Kelly says, I'll hold your hand. So, but anyway, I'm just a dude like that. I'm old school. Anyway, Benny, my point is this. We better get together as a party, and we better decide what our goal is. Our goal should be to find that little kid out on the plains, and our goal should be to save our dadgum country. And we better start moving in that direction. And this nonsense that we're putting forward, zero accountability, and we better realize who our enemy is. Yes. And because this Muslim stuff that's coming through this Sharia law, that's a reality. It's not compatible with our belief systems. And seeing what they're getting by with, and the Democrat Party should be calling these people out, Benny, should be calling them out, but they're not, because they are going to yield to that, and they're going to move that much farther to the left. And we better realize that, and we better realize where it's coming from. And if we don't get control of these colleges and state universities and start putting some people in there with some common sense, then we will. That's
and these judges. I mean, how someone with dual citizenship can overrule the will of 80 million Americans, named Judge Sparkle, who just arrived here last week, and somehow she's on the federal bench. Man, she was just naturalized, I think, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Charlie Kirk effect on our college campuses. He struck a nerve, and I think kids are hungry for the truth, and that's what he represented, the truth. And he had a dadgum plan, and they stopped him. And we've got to realize that who the enemy we're up against will do anything to stop us.
Should Judge Sparkle be able to overrule Trump? And how do we fix that, Congressman, real fast?
We gotta start getting rid of these judges. We've got to start impeaching them, get some guts. Belubi or whatever his name is down in Central America. What's his name? The president down there.
Bukele.
Yeah. I'm on that caucus. Apparently he likes me. He likes what I want to do with banana fibers. It's a great idea I've got. It's economic. But anyway, he loves it. So and I'm on that caucus, but yet I've never been to the country. So imagine that. I don't like getting out of the country. And what was your question? I started talking about everything else.
How do we ensure that these judges these foreign judges can't rule over us?
I was going to say, he said get rid of them, because what they do is they're all together, and they form this little cabal, and the Bible talks about professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and that's what they're doing. They've all got together, and they all got this wisdom, and they think, and they're foolish, but we're foolish if we let them run over. The founders of the Constitution have things in place. We got to do more than write somebody a tough letter, Benny. Dadgummit, we got to start. We need to kick their ass to the curb. And until we do that, if we could do that to one, it would send the message. We got the majority. What's keeping us from it? Trump would go along with it. I know good and well he would, but what's keeping us from it? So I just think if you take an allegiance to another country, you're not going to be loyal to this country, and you don't need to be in any shape, form, or fashion, any of the 3 or 4 branches, as one of the members of the squad said one time. I expect if they get more charged, there'll be 5 branches of government. I don't know. So anyway, that's what we got to do. Pray for our country, Benny.
Pray for our country.
I'm so down right now. You can't believe it. And I get the threats from our leadership saying things like how well, I'll just let it go. But I get it, and I'm sick of it. Let's fight for our country. Let's take it back. Yes. It's worth it.
Yeah, there's always hope in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and ultimately, God raises up nations, and they are all in His hand. And Romans tells us that He chooses our leaders, and that the sword that they create will be used against them. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Well, remember though, those Israelis went through the desert the wilderness for 40 years. So we don't need to do that.
We don't want to do that. That's right. And they still made an idol and worshipped it. That's right. The same generation that saw the miracles of Egypt made an idol and worshipped it right afterwards. Well, they were getting the 10 Commandments. It's like insane. So yeah, stay locked in and stay focused on what actually matters. Your family, your God, your nation. Thank you, Congressman. Everybody follow Tim Burchett. Obviously, you can follow him. He's got 560,000 followers now. I think you had 56 when we started doing interviews, Congressman. So congratulations, and let's go save the country. Thank you.
Every time I'm on, I get the Benny bump. I love it on Twitter. Thank you, Benny. God bless you. I pray for you, and please take care of that beautiful, beautiful family you got. They are so precious. Every time I see that, it warms me up, brother.
Something to fight for. That's right. I wish more people had it. I wish more people had something to fight for. That was right there in their face every single morning. So
absolutely.
Helps ground you. Godspeed, Congressman. Thank you.
Thank you, Benny.
Advantage Gold can keep you locked in to a golden era. Yes, we can have a golden. I don't know what gas prices are where you are. They've dropped 75 cents in Tampa, where I live. Good. Golden era upon us? Well, here's hoping, okay? And I just want to tell you that from my own personal perspective and take on economics, which isn't, I'm no economic genius. I did go to community college after all. But diversification into physical assets is what very rich people do. It is what very successful people do. Land, property, art, gold, precious metals. Diversify into something real, solid, and sound that can't be reduced down to its basic element, which is paper, right? It all goes down to zero in the end. Gold has been around for thousands of years. Invest today. Gold has more than 5,000 of years of value across empires. I trust Advantage Gold, America's top-rated precious metals company. Text Benny to 85545 right now. Benny to 85545 right now. No cost, no obligation. Text Benny to 85545 to leave something real. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our verse of the day. Let's rock and roll. It's been we keep saying we're going to do just an hour-long show. Just an hour-long show. It always goes to 2 hours. We just keep yapping. Verse of the day, Psalm 81. You shall have no foreign god among you. You shall not worship any god other than me. Whoa, how did you know this? We just talked about the Israelites worshiping, they witnessed, I talked about this with my wife this morning. The Israelites witnessed all the miracles of God, freeing them from captivity in Egypt. And then they went immediately to worshiping an idol. Dude, down bad. And we all worship idols. Idol worship. I mean, it's what got Satan cast out of heaven, worshiping something other than God. And we're all guilty of it. I am certainly guilty of it. Every day I'm guilty of it. So you have to stay constantly reconnected. Reconnect. Read your Bible. Serve your family. Serve your nation. And above all else, serve your God. And know that you're not God. The government's not God. God is God. And Christ is King. You shall have no other gods before me. March with us on to victory. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings, and their dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind. The salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. Show come to mind. The salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings.